You unlock this podcast with a key that is imagination. Beyond it, another dimension. A dimension of sights and sounds and fart jokes. You're moving into the land between immaturity and more immaturity. This dark, musty place known as the Wreck My Podcast Zone. Welcome into the Wreck My Podcast, where we are talking about the new Twilight Zone today. I'm here with my guest. Making another special guest appearance, we have She Owned a Talkie Tina Doll. It's Desiree.
Yes.
He's a bookworm with broken glasses. It's Cam.
My glasses. I can't see a thing without my glasses.
The doctors were shocked and disgusted when they uncovered his face. It's Kreger.
It'll go away, they said.
He once gave a sales pitch to death himself. It's Joe.
He didn't buy it.
I also have had a mental breakdown on an airplane. I am your host, Jordan. A little too close to home.
Yeah.
So, guys, what did you think overall? We watched the first 4, because I thought they were only having 4 episodes on the new Twilight Zone. I didn't realize that they've been releasing every week a new episode. I think we're at 6 now.
6 now.
And I think there's 8 total this season or something like that are supposed to come out.
Okay.
What have you thought? We watched the first 4. What did you think of the first 4 overall as kind of a reimagining of the Twilight Zone?
I feel like it's a more true adaptation or iteration of the Twilight Zone than the bad 80s one. I feel like this one-
100%.
Definitely.
That
Yeah,
thing is the
definitely.
one we all forgot.
Yeah, this one is actually it's pretty good. I like
Yeah.
it. It feels
Like the
true
original.
to the zone of Twilight, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Everyone else agree on that? Anyone have kind of a qualm with it
Yeah.
at all?
No, I think of all the remakes. This is
Yeah,
it.
the best of the
We've hit it
remakes.
so far. So
I agree, though.
You agree, though. So, here's the thing. The aesthetic of this was quite a bit like Black Mirror, because Black Mirror has always been touted as the new Twilight Zone. But, you know, they're British, whatever. We don't care about them.
Yeah.
So this is now, we have an American real version of the Twilight Zone. Hey, what are you doing over there?
Hey, what you talking about our tea and crumpets, eh, mate? You think it's all right? Sucker.
What
take.
Hot take?
New Twilight Zone is excellent. Love it a lot.
You
I
like
still
Black
like
Mirror
Black
more?
Mirror more.
Here's the thing, though.
Honey.
It's different. They have a lot of the same thematic elements. The difference is that Black Mirror revolves more around technology, where I've noticed Twilight Zone revolves more around social things like
Yeah.
oppression,
At least these 4
civil
have, for
rights,
sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
PTSD,
definitely.
mental health,
Yeah.
all those things. But I actually like the aesthetic of Twilight Zone a little bit more because it's got this like Fallout retro futuristic look to it, where it looks like it's the 1970s but 2030 at the same time.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that and think that's super cool. Jordan Peele is great as the narrator.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
incredible.
I
Definitely.
thought it's amazing how good he's
What's really
doing on it.
crazy, so Cam and I were watching an episode yesterday, and then we were talking about it, and like, we both just generally thought that Jordan Peele directed at least one or more of these. He does not have a single
No.
directing credit.
He
I was
writes them all.
shocked.
With him and Simon Kinberg are like the top.
they write them?
They writers, yeah.
okay. That
and
makes sense. That's
there's
why it still feels like him, totally.
tons of Easter eggs, names, face references.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
for the originals, like tons, like people's name. Almost everything you see in these shows right now are like an Easter egg to some old 60s or 70s
That's really cool.
episode. Yeah. They kept the whole idea of social issues and moralities going, which is a lot of like what Rod Serling was very, very ahead of his time with these things.
Oh,
and he
yeah.
couldn't even touch on a lot of things he wanted to because honestly, culture just wasn't ready for it yet.
Absolutely.
And now Jordan Peele gets to kind of take over and do some of those himself, which is nice. He does. It's very Jordan Peele-ish, if I will say so. Very much Get Out idea.
I don't wanna-
Us,
I don't
yeah.
wanna Get Out.
No, Craig, Get Out.
Okay.
So did you
Shut
guys
up,
know that
Craig.
Rod Serling's wife is a producer on it?
Really?
Yeah, Carol Serling, yeah. Which is really cool that she gets a little bit of a say in what's going on with
Yeah,
this
that's awesome.
show that's created by him. Some of the original episodes of the show were a little bit more cheeky than this. Like, we all remember the episode To Serve Man, and it's like, it's a cookbook! Like,
Mr. Chambers, don't get on that ship. The rest of the book, To Serve Man, it's a cookbook.
it's kind of like, well, what's the moral in that? That was more just like a freaky one. But all of them that we've watched so far are very poignant And they mostly instill that feeling of non-catharsis, like a lot of the original episodes do. Like they end in a way where you're like, well, I don't really feel good about that, but I get it.
Yeah.
So
I like that there's a lot of familiar faces. You'll recognize a lot of the
Yeah.
actors.
Oh,
You'll
yeah.
recognize
they have a
like
crazy
everyone in there.
cast. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, let's go episode by episode now and talk about some stuff, kind of break it down, what we liked, what we didn't like. So the first one, the comedian, the very first one that ever came out.
With Camille Nanjiani.
Camille Nanjiani, he
Which
plays
is-
Samir.
It is free to watch on YouTube. So even
Yeah,
if
the
you
first
haven't
episode is
watched
free.
it on CBS or you don't have CBS All Access, you are able to watch this episode
And
free on YouTube.
Honestly, you can get a week for free on CBS All Access, so
Yeah.
just go do that and watch all of
Just-
them.
yeah.
And Star Trek Discovery. So we have Kamal Nanjiani as Samir. We have Tracy Morgan playing J.C. Wheeler. Those are the
Awesome.
two
By
big
the way,
names in
I
it.
thought his role was incredible.
Oh, Perfect. great,
Also, the
great.
idea to cast him, it was very fitting.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it fit perfectly. I loved it. I loved that at one point he's vaping, and that's very much like Tracy Morgan.
I'm
So
gonna get everybody pregnant.
this was directed by Owen Harris, who's done 2 episodes of Black Mirror. There you go.
Yep.
And 3 episodes of Misfits. Kreger has
Oh,
talked about
wow.
Misfits before. There you go.
That's a great show.
So we start with this episode. Samir is a stand-up comedian, but isn't really funny because he's trying to talk about things that are a little bit
Yeah, he's trying to make political jokes.
make political jokes, but no one really wants to hear that unless you're like bashing Trump. Did you drop something?
Second
Cam?
Amendment and
What'd you drop?
My pocket.
Oh. So J.C. Wheeler mysteriously shows up and gives him some advice. What you give the audience, they take. So Samir tries to do a different joke where he jokes about his dog. By joking about his dog is pretty much poofed out of existence.
Yeah, never existed.
Never existed.
Which his dog's name was Cat.
Yes, and that
Which
was
I
part of the
love,
joke, which
yeah.
isn't even
Caterpillar,
caterpillar,
actually.
short for
Caterpillar.
caterpillar. Yeah.
My apologies.
That was
so
the joke.
Samir which is actually a really funny joke. Like
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. Samir continues to do this to varying degrees. First, getting rid of his nephew by kind of accident,
Yeah.
then getting rid of some bad people, and then getting rid of people that wronged him. So it kind of
Yeah.
turns into this altruistic thing, and then kind of turns a little bit more selfish. And they ask the question, is he really killing anyone if they just kind of never existed? It's kind of
Right.
this morality gray zone where he's like, am I really doing anything bad, or am I kind of, is this that area of no precedence?
Right.
The audience laughs at a lot of things that aren't really funny, so it gets creepy sometimes.
Yeah, it gets
Yeah.
really
It's so
unnerving.
weird.
Yeah, it's very, very weird. I was a bit confused about how the laws of the deletions worked, because sometimes it was like, do people know? Because his girlfriend would say things sometimes where it almost seems like she knew that he was doing this, but I didn't understand if he explained what was happening, but I didn't understand whether his girlfriend believed it or not.
No, she didn't know. She thought he was just going.
I think she thought he was having a breakdown and was just trying to be like
Okay.
supportive of his practice and being like, but
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
working for you, so like
Yeah.
let's roll with it.
Yeah.
So I was kind of confused in that, like how the physics of it all worked a little bit. So J.C. Wheeler shows up a second time later in the episode to kind of tell him, hey, you wanted success more than anything. Now you're getting it, but you got to lose stuff to get stuff.
Yeah.
And don't stop now. You've come so far and you're so close. Don't stop. So pretty much he goes crazy on stage and starts yelling just random people's names, which some of
Yeah.
the names he was yelling were names from the original series,
Oh,
which
that's
is
cool.
some
Oh,
Easter eggs
okay.
and stuff.
That's cool.
And then his girlfriend comes in and kind of calls him out on it and calls him out on what a bad guy he's being and how selfish he's being on it. And we think he's going to pretty much, because he got rid of Dee Dee, his like frenemy.
Yeah.
We think he's going to say the girlfriend's name to just get rid of her. Well, he ends up doing a stand-up act about himself.
I thought he was gonna get rid of Eddie's. Actually, I thought he was.
Oh,
gonna,
that
like,
would've
get
been
the
interesting.
name of the whole venue, and everybody was like gonna be gone.
Yeah.
So that's
See,
actually what
Like
I
he was the last person alive
Yeah, like
kind
I
of
thought
thing.
it was gonna be the girlfriend or Eddie's because we did
Yeah.
so much about the apostrophe joke that I
Yeah.
was like,
Right,
oh,
right.
he's just gonna get rid of the whole club, like
Yeah.
screw all these people, and then he did.
I immediately thought he was gonna off himself.
Oh, so you saw that one.
I saw that kind of coming. Yeah.
So at this point, I thought there were still going to be like crazy twists going on. This twist wasn't too twisty. He got rid of himself. Everything went back to normal. And then J.C. Wheeler, again, the non-cathartic end. Like you have the nice ending where it's
Yeah.
like the morality. And then J.C. Wheeler shows up to Dee Dee. And it
To
says the
tempt
same
her,
thing
yeah.
to attempt her kind of thing.
Which
yeah.
I was telling Cam yesterday. I felt like it could have been a lot better, but also I felt like it was exactly what it needed to be because it's the entrance into the new one. You don't want to have people be like too super shocked or like taken aback by the first episode. You want it to be like good but not too great.
I thought it was too long. I feel
I
like the amount of
honestly kind
times
of
they
agree.
Yeah, it was
restarted
honestly,
the
yes.
same political joke. I was like,
And
okay, we get it. He's redoing it.
And here's
Can
what's
we-
interesting. Like that episode was about 50 minutes. The second
Felt
episode
long.
was 35.
Yeah.
I liked the 35-minute,
Me
but then the
too.
other 2 episodes we watched were about 50 to 55 minutes. They should really just be making them 35 minutes.
I
I feel like
Second
I like the
episode is
shorter
actually my
one.
favorite one.
I feel like
Same.
Oh yeah, the second
Same.
one was really.
Well, anyway, before we get to the
Yeah.
second one, we'll finish off
Yeah.
this one. We have a moment, too, where we see Samir in the painting in the background, kind of a Shining
Yeah,
moment,
very
the end of
much
The Shining.
The Shining.
It makes me
Yeah.
wonder if all of them are
I was just going to
comedians
say, I think
who are
all
now
of them
just, like-
are that J.C. Wheeler has tempted, and
Yeah.
they've all come to the same conclusion and
that's how
everything.
yeah.
Because the moral of the story, are you willing to give up your morals and beliefs for fame kind of thing? We live in a society where everyone wants that Instagram fame. Everyone wants to be the next big thing.
Everyone
But
wants to go viral.
Yeah, but what are you going to give up to get to that? So, yeah, I thought this episode was fast and loose with kind of the rules of what was going on, but the narrative was nice kind of driving along, but I agree it was slow.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love it fast and loose? Come on.
Everyone loves it fast and loose. This was
Fast
the
and tight.
first Twilight Zone episode ever to have the F word in it.
Yeah.
In 65, 70 years of Twilight Zone
It's true.
episodes, first one to ever have that.
Who said it?
They
When?
said it a bunch of times.
They
The-
said it in
'cause-
other episodes too.
Yeah, because these are definitely like R-rated in the sense that they
Yeah.
say like there's nothing too violent or sexual in any of them, but they just curse a lot and all
Yeah,
that
it's
stuff.
fine.
So moving on to number 2, Nightmare at 30,000 feet.
Yeah.
Of course,
My
a
favorite.
reimagining of Nightmare at 20,000 feet with William Shatner saying the crazy thing.
There's something on the way.
Yeah, which actually
So-
later in the
hey.
episode, there's a doll that
doll
pops
of it,
up
yeah.
that is
Yeah.
which is cool. So Adam Scott is in this. He plays Justin Sanderson. We all know Adam Scott from Parks and Rec. That's probably his biggest role ever. This was directed by Greg Yatanings. He did 3 episodes of Lost, which kind of makes sense when you realize that they're on a
Yeah.
plane that's going to disappear in the end when they're
Yeah.
on an island.
Yeah.
That, okay, that's why they got this guy. So this episode's a bit shorter. I like that.
Yeah, it felt really
definitely-
It was
concise.
perfect.
But now here's what's funny. This is the episode out of the 4 we watched that most people didn't like.
What?
And you guys are all saying you
Interesting.
like this one more. this was my favorite
No,
too.
it was
I-
so
too.
good.
Me
the whole
too.
premise of like him listening to a podcast telling what's going on.
But like, why was this MP3 player looking so old? I just wanted
But
to.
I
like,
like that.
I was
I
like,
said-
where did
I
this
It
love-
wasn't his
archaic
MP3 player.
MP3
I
player
love
come
the
from?
like retro 1970s look of the MP3 player.
But then he's like, but my podcast, and you're
Yeah.
like, but I'm having a clash of like.
I loved
time,
that.
time here.
Because if you looked at the plane itself, a lot of it looked very high tech and futuristic, but like the cushions and everything were very
But that was
old
some
and
of the
everything.
yeah, we're like
problems.
Pan
old.
Am.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
and that was some of my problem with this episode was stuff that was unrealistic. Like, what plane are you ever on where they're like, here's a video of what's happening in the cockpit?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
no.
weird.
That's
You would
never
never
gonna happen. And
do
obviously
that.
it's set because something's gonna happen there later,
Yeah.
so we can see it. But it still was like, okay, but I'm like getting a disconnect because that's not realistic to what happens.
And also, there was a advertisement for going to Mars while he was in the
Yeah.
terminal, and I was like,
Oh,
so
I
we
didn't
are
see
far
that.
enough in the future that going to Mars is just like a destination spot right now. Like that's kind of weird.
I mean, they did have
Yeah.
more headroom on the plane, so maybe that's
yeah,
promising.
and
for
a
the
lot more
future
leg room
flights.
for everyone
Yeah,
too.
it's very
Like,
nice on this
it,
plane.
it looked like a Pan Am flight from the 50s
Yeah.
in
But was-
2050.
yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, so I don't know. But let's go through this episode real quick. So Justin Sanderson, he's in an airport. We see Samir on the cover of a magazine while he's going through, which was kind of cool from the previous episode. Justin is an investigative journalist, and he meets a guy named Joe in the terminal.
Hi.
Hi. We find out Justin's going through some PTSD stuff. They never really get into what.
Yemen.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but he's like, hey.
Chalk it up to Yemen.
Yeah, but he's like,
Another one.
That's all they said. Yeah.
freaking Yemen.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Him and
Yeah, man.
Chandler are there.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too. I was like, he must have been hanging out with Chandler.
Yeah. So
Chandler.
10:15 is a thing that shows up a lot in this episode, and we get this in episodes after this as well a lot too. So there's an MP3 player that in Justin's seat that has a podcast called The Tragic Mystery of Flight 1015, and it's pretty much narrating everything that's going on during the episode. Justin is trying to figure out like what to do to save everyone because everything's been right in this podcast so far, and it says they're going to disappear at 11:15, and so he's trying to figure out what to do to save everyone on board. My question is, why doesn't Justin just get someone to listen to the podcast?
He tries that.
He tried
One
one
guy.
person.
And the guy's like, I don't want lice.
Yeah,
The bald man. The
Oh,
bald man.
Bald man doesn't want lice.
The
Come
bald
on.
man.
but I'm like, is this supposed to be kind of like, because it seems like everyone is just writing him off from the get-go. Like, you're crazy. I'm like, why is that?
Also, it was a 22-minute podcast. Like, let's listen to the whole thing and then make a choice.
Yeah.
Not pause it and be like, okay, this is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
My theory on that is a lot of what he was listening and things that he was seeing weren't actually happening.
What do you mean?
If you remember when he
That they were
looked
playing
at
on the paranoia.
Yeah, they're
What-
playing on
Oh,
his
when?
paranoia.
What was
But
and
they
that he
always
was
ended up being
listening
right. He
to
was just
it.
wrong. Like he thought the
Russian
stereotypical
dude.
Russian guys were the Russian, but the Russian was actually there. It was just a different
But
guy.
he said the
And
front
they're-
of the plane, and
Yeah.
that guy was in first class, and he went to the guys in
The front of
front
his
in
of
section.
front of
coach.
economy or whatever.
Yeah.
they are,
Which,
yeah.
if you think back, he was supposed to be in first class, but he gave up his seat in first class.
Yes, to the kid.
See?
And then also it said there was an air marshal on the plane, and he thought it was the pilot,
Yeah.
but it ended up being the girl that we thought was gonna like play the person who was like, "Oh, I believe you," because she was kind of in that role where it was like
Yeah.
the believer. But then Joe ends up being the believer guy, saying, "Hey, I believe you."
But
Which-
again, that's why I also think it plays on his paranoia. Joe obviously already knew Adam Scott's character prior to this because he had him
Kind
sign
of.
the magazine and everything back in the
But
terminal.
Yeah.
So could have planted the
Podcast?
to
Oh, and all the
start up the
Maybe.
paranoia so that he can
To
be the
help
one
him get
to
into the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
but
Interesting.
they say that every passenger except for Justin is accounted for. So all the passengers saw Joe do all the bad things. How is he still accounted for?
And you would think Joe is dead. I almost think
Right?
yeah,
They
yeah.
don't.
That's
They're
a
not
good
very
point.
clear
They don't
because
yeah,
he is
they
a
don't talk
passenger.
about
He's
Joe.
not a pilot.
Exactly.
the thing is I almost feel like Joe is a supernatural entity.
Oh, that he's not even real.
He's like a ghost. He's not even real.
Like
A
he's
ghost.
dead.
Because if you think about it, no one interacts with Joe except for Justin.
That's a good point.
Huh,
Except for the
he
pilots that fight him.
Yeah.
Joe?
Joe fights the pilots.
But we don't see it. We hear it.
You
and
watch
then-
it
and
on
the
the
screen.
screen.
Oh, do you watch? But it
It's on the-
flashes a bunch, which makes
Yeah, and
you
it's
think.
staticky.
Which makes you
Yeah.
think like that could not actually be happening.
Like
It
what
could
if
have been
Joe?
Justin.
It could have been Justin,
But
like an
like,
alternate reality,
yeah,
which
interesting.
you would have, which would make make it even better. Why everyone's willing to kill him so quickly? It's because he was the one doing all this stuff.
Right. Even
Yeah,
though
I
he
mean,
thinks
I
it
was-
Joe.
He thinks it was Joe. Joe is like
sorry.
yeah. No, I was gonna say Joe is like a haunting of him, making him do
Yeah.
these
I was
things.
about to say, well, it couldn't happen because Justin was tied up when it happened, but it could be like a Fight Club kind of thing where it's like the part of Justin's psyche that didn't want to do it was tied up, and his other part of his psyche was Joe.
Could be.
What if
Yeah.
Joe is like the angel of death and only Adam Scott's character is able to see him? When he goes into the cockpit, he's fighting with the pilots and it's like their will to keep living.
Yeah.
And he finally wins, meaning they die and they, in reality, they just died in their seats in the cockpit and that's what crashes the plane.
Interesting.
I disagree.
And what do we say to the angel of death?
Not today.
That's right.
But
It's a Game of
but
Thrones thing.
Joe still said the sign off to the New York air traffic control tower.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
he said
He
goodnight
said
in New
goodnight
York.
in New York.
I think
The other
that
thing too, aren't
Did he
they
say good
very
morning,
far
Vietnam
away
the
from New
next
York
day?
at that point?
What?
it's just they're just
Also,
leaving
that was a very
flying
tiny
over New
plane
York.
for going international.
No,
That was
yeah,
a very
that is
small
a pretty
international
tiny plane.
They're-
Yeah,
they're-
for going that far
Yeah.
to Tel Aviv, yeah.
It's not what those planes look like. But yeah, it was, I don't know. It was interesting, and I was trying to figure out that too. And I just feel like him being hammered the whole time to Justin would have been a red flag. Like clearly he's drinking the whole time. He's like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
good idea, man.
Well,
you
got
go
his-
fight
And he's
me."
also like, I was a pilot, but there's just some things you can't take back, so I'm not a pilot anymore. So I'm like, so obviously he crashed or something.
Right, and he's like, but
Yeah.
you be in charge. This is a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah, he's clearly not a pilot anymore, and he's drinking heavily. So it's like there's something wrong.
Also,
here.
I love how they insinuate that in the cockpit there's like a lever for cabin pressure or something.
Yeah, that you
Oh,
can
yeah.
just,
I'll
like,
just
make everybody
control
sleep.
the cabin pressure.
I think it's too far of a stretch to insinuate that any of this was like figments of his imagination to the point because there weren't enough external clues to give you that idea.
Yeah.
It was very much a play on paranoia via the podcast and hearing things and like the form of like media telling you a thing in any sense.
Which
Kind of
begs
like when
to that.
people like freaked out when they heard War of the Worlds on the radio.
Yeah.
True. But it begs
Yeah.
the question then, if Joe was a real person, what is his reasoning behind doing this? If we know that he had an accident, he was a pilot, he regrets it, what's his reasoning for killing a whole nother plane of people?
He wanted
Didn't
to.
kill them.
If Joe was never there to begin with, it would make sense that all passengers are accounted for except for
That's why I'm saying it
The
kind of
reason
makes
the
sense
reason
there.
that it was all passengers were accounted for is because when they crashed, they all got rescued, but they all stoned.
yeah,
Adam Scott to
but
death.
Joe wouldn't have.
Yeah, Joe would have
was a
needed to be accounted
passenger,
for.
so he would have been accounted for, and there's no way after everyone watching him beat
Would
up
have been like, he didn't do
kill the
anything.
Yeah, but
pilots
he still
and
could have
crash.
he still could have been there though.
He could have been
he could have been
hiding.
accounted for, but he could still be in like prison.
I feel like they would have killed him.
Yeah, because
As if
That's
they're-
the guy that did it.
If
Weren't
they're
there
gonna
two
ki-
pilots, and one of them was out with the stewardess, and then when he went in, he only beat up one of them that was
Yeah.
laying on the floor. And
There
like, where'd
was
the
only
other
one
go?
on the floor. That's right.
The
Because
other
there
one
was
was
one-
still out
Yeah, and
back,
he
and he
just-
was locked out.
because
But
they
He
were in the
didn't know
back
the
of the
code?
plane.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, like,
it's
if,
again
like-
insinuating that from the inside you can change the code real
in
quick or
30
something.
Like I just was like, why didn't the other pilot be like, wait, no, let me go in there? Like that was a weird thing too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he disappeared, and we didn't know what happened to this other pilot who was like, sir, I need you. You're causing a problem.
Which I think this is why we're getting into the point of why people didn't like this episode is because there are these questions that were not answered well enough. They weren't left ambiguous enough to be creepy like Stephen King, and they weren't answered well enough to make sense. So it was kind of this gray area where the writing was just kind of sloppy on it, I feel like. But again, the whole point is a self-fulfilling prophecy and paranoia. That's the whole point of this thing, is that if Justin would have never tried to stop these events, the events never would have happened.
I have two
Right.
points to that. One, maybe that's just part of the Twilight Zone thing where it's like they want to leave unanswered questions.
Oh, they do that a lot in the
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
Twilight
that
Zone
one
stuff.
thing.
Yeah,
And
they don't
also,
answer a lot of
There's
stuff.
another maybe hidden message where it's like our society is too much about jumping to conclusions and not like waiting it out to see the course what really the truth is. If he had just checked the next episode, he would have known not to do any of it.
That's true. I don't think the next episode was on there until he landed on the island, though.
And that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I thought this episode would have been a lot better if it ended right when Joe said "Good night, New York," and that was the end of it. I don't like the whole
Yeah.
that would
island
have been
thing.
good. We didn't need
And
to
I
see
just-
any
everyone
more.
died. Like Justin's
Yeah.
the reason this happened, and they are missing because like they just
Yeah.
never found it in the middle
Yeah.
of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
We didn't need the island part.
Yeah.
I have one.
That would have been a better ending.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
100%. One small thing is, does anyone know what the stewardess is from? I couldn't put my.
She
fi-
did look familiar.
She looks so
Yeah, I don't know
familiar.
who
Yeah.
she's from either.
Yeah, I looked it
I
up,
just IMDb'd
and I
her.
didn't write it down, and I forget
I
what it
just
was.
went on IMDb. I couldn't think of anything.
Oh, there was one on there I did recognize, and I can't remember what it was when I looked it up.
Dead Air.
Dead Air is great.
Dead
This
Air at
is
30,000
stuff- Oh,
feet.
it was Fringe. It's because I
love Fringe.
I'm a big Fringe fan. She was in like an episode or two. So yeah, here's some things. So those magazines that we saw, Samir. There's also one of the magazines had someone from Wonderkind on it. One of the episodes we didn't watch. So there was a forward Easter egg. And Richard Donner directed the original episode of this. So in 1963, Richard Donner directed the episode. So Captain Donner is paying an homage to him.
Okay.
Yeah, and this episode gave me so much anxiety. I do not like flying. So you can imagine this whole time I was like,
And also-
they're in a storm.
And also, that actor looks mildly similar to you as well. So
Adam Scott?
I could see it. See how you get there.
Craig, you think every white actor looks like
Yeah,
Jordan?
what did you say? Who did you think I looked like a few
Paul
weeks
Rudd.
back? Paul Rudd, yeah. I don't think
you look a lot like Paul Rudd.
so.
With that face
Right there.
specifically.
So moving on to number 3.
This was my favorite
Yes,
one.
and I figured because this was the
This is the
most
most
social
political.
commentary one. It's called Replay. It has Damson Idris playing Dorian, which I at first was like, Idris Elba? Like first name, last name thing?
Yeah.
Damson Idris, so he plays Dorian. Sana Lothan, I think is how you pronounce it, is the mom, Nina. She's the main girl in Alien vs. Predator, if you guys remember that movie from like
Oh, wow.
70. Yeah, the girl who like
Yeah.
fights with the Predator.
Yeah.
We have Steve Harris, who plays Uncle Neil. He's from Santa Clarita Diet, Minority Report, The Rock. He's in like a
Yeah.
billion things. And then Glenn Fleshler from
His name would be
Fleshler.
That is an
He's
unfortunate name.
Officer Lasky. He's also from Fringe and The Following.
Okay.
He's in a few
That's where I've
episodes
seen
of those.
him as the following.
Yeah. So we have Gerard McMurray directing. He directed the first Purge, the movie, and also Fruitvale Station. Which Fruitvale Station was a big oppression social commentary too. What are you doing over there, Kurt? You are like, Pat. What was that?
Piece of the chair.
Wow. Craig is throwing stuff at me. Okay, so we start off. This camcorder has an ability to... Oh, no. I'm sorry. We have the mom, Nina.
Yep.
Is taking her son, Dorian, to college to be a film student. Another thing why Cam loves this.
Yep.
There's a film theme going on throughout here. They name dropped Ryan Coogler and Black Panther
Yep.
in this as well. They have a camcorder that has the ability to rewind time.
Yes.
And I like that it had 30 frames per second up in the corner there.
Yeah.
Like all camcorders just told you what frames per second they were filming
They
at.
did all original video.
Did they
told you.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't remember
Yeah.
I always had like the HUD display off
no,
whenever I was
digital
doing
video.
it.
That's why it looks so flat and weird because it's shot at 29.9 and then they round up to 30 on the display.
Did you guys
Interesting.
know it's actually HUD stands for data?
Yep.
Yep. That was a Krager joke. So the mom
Someone got it.
is keeping Dorian from her family in the past because she got out. We see what you did there, Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Get out.
I also thought it was. I liked it, but also thought it was a bit like too much. Like, oh, we have to put this in there when they made the Colin Kaepernick reference.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
they
think
did
that
make
was
the
too
Colin
much.
Cap.
I felt
Colin
like it was
Kaepernick.
pertinent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think
it
it
was
was too
entirely
much.
relevant to what's going on.
So they have multiple altercations with a racist officer, Officer Lasky, to varying degrees of harassment, and even in one of them killing Dorian.
Yes.
So that catch up foreshadowing at the beginning to later.
Yep.
So Nina uses the camcorder to go back every time. The cop is inevitable, so no matter what route they take or no matter how nice or mean they are, this cop is always going to be predisposed. Predisposed. I always have a hard time with that word.
Predisposed.
Predisposed as it. The only route they haven't taken is going back to Nina's past through her old hometown where her brother is.
Right.
So they decide they have to go. So the path she's avoiding is the only route they can take.
Yes.
So a lot of themes going on throughout this. Nina explains what's going on to Dorian, and he believes it right away, and they explain to the uncle what's going on. He believes it right away. They're really quick to believe this magical camcorder can rewind time, which is interesting.
If my mom told me something like that and she was as shaken up like that, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I wouldn't be like,
Yeah, go with it.
Yeah, go with
And
it.
at
Yeah, because
first,
their
like,
relationship is obviously very tight.
Oh, very
Like,
tight.
they're
Yeah.
very, very close. And he even is like, I need to take her to the hospital. He noticed something's totally wrong.
Yeah.
And he just cares about his mom. So if she tells him, hey, this is what we got to do, I feel like he would believe her.
So the story pretty much comes to a conclusion where it's about standing up against oppression, and to do so, you have to do it together. It was very reminiscent of like Martin Luther King Jr.'s whole ideology and his speeches and everything.
You have to do it together, and you have to expose it and make it known.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is
Yeah.
you can't just run away from what you don't like, which was a lot of the theme going through without. You kind of have to stand up to that, and it happens when they make it to the school, but Officer Lasky is waiting for them there and calls for backup, and they all stand up against him and say no. And Nina even says, "You're the one that's really afraid," which is where the abuse of power comes from.
Yeah.
Because they like being in charge.
Yeah, it says
Them,
you're
the white man.
profiling us, you're hurting us.
I gotta
Yeah.
say, it kind of broke my heart a little bit. Like when she buys him the apple pie and is talking to him, and like it seemed like she was getting through to him. Like I was like,
I know you thought.
I genuinely like had like a happy like euphoric feeling. Like this is nice, like maybe like
But
this.
nope.
And then this, as soon as he got up and walked away, I'm like, oh crap, this isn't the right
But I
show.
think it
for that.
really speaks to a lot of like pertinent issues today when we often talk about victims. What did the victim do wrong? What did they do? Like when they get pulled over and we talk about black people and the police and all of these issues, we talk about what could they have done right? And that's what this does. And she literally tried every possible avenue.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it didn't matter because he's racist.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
going to be racist
No
no,
matter
matter
what
what
she does.
And
Yep.
I think that really shone through. And that to me was a big takeaway. Like,
Yeah.
look, it's not the victim. It's not the victim. It's
Well, also up to
It's,
the
Racism.
point.
it's racism in the
It's
in the
also-
systemic oppression.
issues of
Yeah.
people.
It also speaks to how ingrained that is in people's theology because he doesn't even realize he's doing it until they stand up against him and then realizes that he has to back down because he's being nice to her at first when she buys the pie but goes like, oh, I haven't seen you around. I always keep my eye on people like you. Like he's saying these things in almost a unthreatening manner. And he like to the point that he almost doesn't even realize he's doing it because it's so ingrained in him that like
I feel like he knows.
Really, I feel like it
I
was
felt like
speaking-
he knew as well.
I feel like it was
No,
speaking to that thing how we all have grandparents who like say really racist things and don't even realize they're saying it because that was the culture they grew up in. I thought that was kind of like a thing that they were hitting on too.
I
I think if
understand.
we give him that, then we're just excusing.
Well, no, I'm not
white-
trying to
I'm not
excuse
saying
it.
you
I'm
are,
just
but-
saying that like it's almost like so ingrained that he had to kind of get away. But wait, I guess you're right. It is kind of defending him
Yeah,
a little
I mean-
bit.
And I don't
that's
think
not
that
what
you're
you want to
defending
do.
racism, but
Yeah.
I don't think you are.
More race. You know what this is missing? More racism.
Vote for Jordan. He's for racism.
Yeah.
No, there's 4 different kinds of racism.
For racism.
But
Yeah.
I think that attests to a lot of what we do. Well, he didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know. Well, it's a
True.
generation. I'm like, okay, but they can learn the
True.
same way we all do.
I have to
Yeah.
say the biggest part of this episode for me was it's like I've never experienced this. I've never personally witnessed this, but from what I know and understand, this is not that much of an exaggeration, and this goes on
No,
daily
still
in
today.
certain parts of the
Yeah.
country.
Oh,
The
for
South is
sure.
still
For
crazy.
sure.
Like, yeah.
For sure.
Roll Tide.
We think not because, the Queer Eye guys, the Fab Five, are going down into, like, Georgia and
we
stuff.
live in California,
and we
where
think,
it's a little less than the rest
here,
of the
but we
world.
think, like, oh, it's totally cool down there. But it's like, no, it's pretty bad down there still.
No,
with,
actually,
with, like, a lot of racism and prejudice against people and stuff like that.
It's actually a really kind of, like, out of left field pull. But, like, if you've ever watched Top Gear, when it was on BBC, the original one, they go through, like, what was it, Joe? Was it Georgia or Alabama when they drive through with their cars?
Yeah.
And their one thing
It's
is
Alabama.
it's Alabama. They get to write whatever they want on each other's cars, and they write like a lot of like homophobic and like other. Well,
Which
not
could get-
not
No, but, like-
homophobic,
but they wrote like I like men or
Like, Hail
vote
Satan.
for Hillary
Yeah.
and
And stuff
things that would get
kind
you in trouble in
Yeah.
Alabama.
And
And-
there was literally a couple of times where you were like, they might die.
Yeah.
like they had people like chasing them in trucks and like with
I imagine your next door neighbors
got
from
crazy.
Alabama.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So, but no, I agree. This and here's the problem with these Twilight Zone episodes that I'm seeing a theme on. If it would have ended right at that point where they stood up and they won and he got to go to school, it would have been great. But they have to have a little epilogue every time that makes it non-cathartic again, where they go 10 years into the future and we see Dorian now has a daughter, Trinity, like he said, and the mom is there and she still has that camcorder.
But I still think that that's really important because she's holding on the one thing that can save her son, right? That did it before. And he's like, Mom, it's 10 years now. It's going to be fine. And then we get that tight close-up on her face, and she is still stricken with fear that her son is going outside.
But did you see a flashing on
Yeah,
her face?
yeah.
Like there
So
was a
you heard
it wasn't
a
just me.
slight
I
siren
heard that
and a
at the end,
flashing,
but I saw the
which
flashing on her face.
brings up the point here that no matter like it's almost kind of a bummer because no matter how much you let the past go, the future is always uncertain. So we could be making strides right now in racism and everything, but who knows in 50 years if that's going to make a major comeback. And it's going to be like worse than it was in the past. Like you never know. The future is uncertain.
So something incredibly political that's a thing. There was a poll, or not a poll, but like NPR just did a thing that in cities where Trump holds his rallies, in all the cities that Donald Trump has held his rallies,
It smells like fart.
Not even just that. Hate crimes have grown 200% in those cities specifically.
Because they have
nationwide.
someone speaking it up.
Yeah. So
Well, I think that's
still
entirely
a thing.
parallel. When you're saying it can come back, but it has. Like
Yeah.
we have moved forward
it
slightly,
never-
but now we
it-
have just retracted.
It never fully left.
No, never.
Well, it's because
it's just more prevalent or
it's because when you're climbing up a slope, it's easy to just turn around and sit on your butt and slide back down. That's like the way easier way to go, So it's just. Craig, did you have something to say? We cut you off a while ago.
Yeah, no, there was a certain cutter in line, but whatever.
No butts, no cuts, no coconuts.
Is he just
I haven't heard that in
strokes his ghosts?
no,
the
I was
egg thing
picking
again.
acrylic paint
Yeah.
off of my hair because I painted yesterday.
So what I was saying is,
And also the biggest thing with
What were you painting, Cam?
I was painting a little space cat for a friend.
Oh, you showed
Craig,
me.
go for
Yeah,
it.
it's really cute.
I'm listening.
thank you. She needs to come back.
Yeah.
When are you
so
gonna paint me something?
So-
Sorry, Craig. Go ahead.
So basically, very early on in the episode, her
Yeah.
son says his belief of the universe is no matter what, you can't change something. If it's going to happen, the molecules in the universe are going to end up happening. So for me, the whole episode made a lot of sense because they kind of set you up for that in the very
Yeah.
beginning. He says, no matter what, something will do what it's supposed to do, no matter what the situation.
Yeah.
And you kind of saw that when the one time when one of her first options is she gets up and leave right as a cop comes in.
Yeah.
And so he lets him out, and then it's almost like he was going about his day, like he lets them out, lets them through the door, and he's walking in to go to his food, and then just something like stops, almost like a robotic stop, and it's like, no, I need to turn around. Like,
Yeah.
Like the universe was saying, no, you have to do this.
Yes, I agree. I always thought that she would be able to rewind further back than the spot where they were in the diner, but I guess not.
It seems she had very much control
No.
over the rewinding.
Makes me really want to bring back into like the end game time travel thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm back into my whole like I don't get how this works.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Not really. Everyone who's anyone
they
knows
time
that there is.
travel?
You can only
You didn't
rewind
know?
to the beginning of the tape. And she started
because
recording
the tape
at
started
that point.
there.
Oh.
Okay.
What if she switched tapes?
Where would you rewind to?
And where do you? Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, because why does she still have it 10 years later then?
And if she goes,
Because she's just holding onto the same tape.
Oh, okay.
I was so freaking pissed off. If you have the lotto numbers, you don't use it to blackmail your son. You go get those damn lottery numbers and get some money.
I love that she did, because everyone was like, she's going to win the lotto right now. And she did it for like no, I just want more time with my kid. And I thought it was sweet.
You mean blackmailing him?
And the lotto is only...
Is that racist?
I was like, what? Can you tell me why it took me minutes to get that? I was like, what?
That lotto was only 20 million, by the way.
Yeah, who wants that?
Only.
Who wants that?
Oh, by the way,
change.
speaking of what you just said,
Her name is Des.
blackmailing. You said, is that racist?
Yeah.
So I just had a conversation with my friend yesterday, and I was gonna do like a I was gonna quote an African American, but mimicking their voice, and she's all like, "That's the equivalent of blackface." I'm like, "Is it? I don't know. Like
It's called black mouth.
yeah, that's what I said."
Are you?
I have so many questions.
No.
Was not
Are you
mocking.
No. Are you playing just the way that black people speak, or are you saying something from a movie in the way that a character
He's
said
going
it?
for
Like, are you quoting Sean Connery right now in Sean Connery's voice? Like that type of...
Yeah, it was
doing
more
their
like- yeah, it
voice
was more like
very
that.
specific this person, or like
Yes.
stereotypical generalization?
No, it was
He's
not
going-
stereotypical.
Okay,
He's going
then that is not the equivalent of blackface.
He's going straight Michael Scott. Never touch a black man's radio.
oh yeah.
Shrek. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going
you
the
want, a
route of
cookie?
like quote, like mimicking a certain individual in their
supposed to
role,
do- there's
or
two
like
types of
how they
people.
are, not
Yeah.
a generalization of people.
I would say you didn't commit blackmouth.
Well, it was more like a general, like what is considered right and wrong.
So, guys, this episode
interesting.
had some fun references in it there. 1015 or 01015 was the license plate on Officer Lasky's car. So we
Yeah,
got
it
the
was.
1015 showing up again. The camcorder was made by Whipple, which also made the MP3 player.
I noticed
Yeah.
that
And Whipple is actually a callback to an episode
about a nipple.
about
Two nipples.
They're called
Just one.
when they're two. It's a Whipple. It's kind of like a murder of crow. It's a Whipple of nipple.
That's why you whip them out.
Yep, you whip the nipple. You whipple them.
Can you please do that again?
That's getting a zoom.
That's how you do the Whipple.
do the whipple. Teach me how to whipple. Teach me how to whipple.
Whipple,
yeah.
and then a nay.
So let's talk about the very last one we watched. I think it was called The Traveler or A Traveler.
I fell asleep
you guys
Yeah.
didn't like this one?
3
Bad.
times during
I thought this one would have been amazing if they brought it to 30 minutes.
I feel like this
It
one
was
would be
too
amazing
long.
if they never made it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
it's a
my
bummer
God.
that Stephen Yoon got thrown in this one
Yeah.
because I like
his
him
performance
so
was
much.
good.
His
Yeah.
performance was great, but it's just like,
Yeah.
the ending was so unfulfilling.
Well, here's the thing. So, okay, Stephen Yoon from The Walking Dead fame, he plays the Traveler. We have Marika Silla playing Yuka. She is the cop. We have Patrick Gallagher playing Jack, her brother. He had a small role in Captain Marvel. He also played Attila the Hun in Night at the Museum, if you remember that.
yeah.
And then Greg Kinnear playing Captain Lane Pendleton, and he's from like Little Miss Sunshine, You Got Mail, and a bunch of other million things. Everyone knows who Greg Kinnear is.
Yeah.
This was directed by Anna Lily Amapour. She's done episodes of Legion and Castle Rock and stuff like that. So, this episode was cool to me in the sense that I like the whole alien thing, but they kind of gave it away from the beginning because they did this whole thing where they started making you think, okay, is he really an alien? Is he from the future? Is he here for good things? Is he here for bad things? What's going on? I like that whole like mistrust
Unknown
and dissension kind of thing going on, but they didn't do it effectively. It was too on the nose, in my opinion. You knew from the beginning he was going to be an alien.
I was just bored. This episode bored.
I knew from the very, very, very beginning
Yeah.
that it was going to be an alien and like, I don't know, conspiracy government thing. I just knew because they were like Air Force Base,
Yeah.
threw it in, and I was like, I don't know,
Okay,
whatever.
let's go through the episode real quick, and then let me tell you why I'm so bummed that this episode didn't pan out better than it did, okay? So we start off, we're a Christmas episode in Alaska. That's already 2 strikes there. Like, if you're going to do a Christmas episode, you're going to do an
Christmas
episode in
time, yeah.
Alaska, make it better, too.
They
Like,
put it in December, and I
Yeah.
feel like we just had the 10-15 for October. Like, this could have been a great fall thing. Like,
Yeah,
do that
October
one in October,
15th.
and then have the one in November,
Yeah.
and then like I just
Yeah.
was like a weird timing to
Wasn't
me.
yeah.
the 10-15 one in
I mean, like an
Christmas as
actual
well?
release date.
Oh,
Like
I
its
see what you're
actual
saying. Yeah,
release
yeah,
date
yeah,
was
yeah.
like it's an October thing, and I was like, okay, but it's April
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
spring, and
Yeah,
now
yeah,
I'm
no, that makes
snowing in
sense.
Alaska.
You're already having a hard time relating to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
atmosphere.
So Yucca is a cop. She takes her brother Jack into the station because he's drunk. They're close to some type of radar station or Air Force base or something. Tons of strong alien vibes going on from the beginning there. Captain Pendleton pardons a prisoner every Christmas, so he's going to pardon Jack. But when they go down to get him, a mysterious man played by Stephen Yeun is in one of the cells. He says he is a traveler, literal name, and he's an agro-traveler with a YouTube channel. We can all relate to that.
His phone looked cool.
His phone did look cool, actually. So they pardon him instead of Jack,
Russia.
and they treat him like a friend because he's very charming and kind of buttering them up. But Yuka is not buying it. The traveler starts spreading mistrust and chaos and shows just how thin of a thread it would take to break everyone down.
Yeah.
We see that especially when the lights go out and everyone gets super hostile. The traveler continues to mess with Yuka and Pendleton, confusing them and showing them their dark sides. The traveler pits them against each other and finds out the location of a shed that houses all of the power grid for their surrounding area. And doing that because he reveals himself to be an alien, and that's the plan. They're using this for a hostile takeover or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a coup.
Yeah. And then we get the line, like, it's only a lie if you believe it. Essentially, they're trying to say you'll believe a lie if it benefits you or if you want to believe it, where people are more have mistrust in areas they don't believe in things, whether it's true or not.
Right.
This whole idea of what's real, what's not. So here's the reason why I'm very, very upset that this did not pan out better. This is a reimagining of the classic episode, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street.
No, it's not.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what they said. And that's one of my favorite episodes of Twilight Zone.
You're all standing out here, all set to crucify somebody. But believe me, friends, the only thing that's going to happen is that we're going to eat each other up alive.
Which bums,
that
me,
bums
out.
me out.
But you get how it's kind of linked, where it's like the little things can trigger people so much that they just turn on each other.
A lame re-envisioning of it.
It is, which is why I wish they would have done it better. You know?
I hate it even more now.
I know, that's what's such a bummer.
And I already hated it.
Yeah, it's such a bummer.
Yeah.
So some things here we got some lines from the Untouchables in this. He said, you brought a Remington shotgun to a Russian invasion.
Yeah.
And then we also got, you can't handle the truth from A Few Good Men.
Right.
So I don't know why they decided to throw those in there, but they did. 1015 was the code to get into the base area.
Oh, okay.
Or
The
where the cells were and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. And then the mayor's last name is Matheson, which is an homage to Richard Matheson, who wrote a ton of Twilight Zone episodes and is one of my favorite authors.
Cool.
So those were some of the things there. But yeah, I agree. This was the worst episode.
Yeah.
By far.
My favorite was Nightmare. So let's go through. Cam, favorite was Replay.
Yeah.
Least favorite was Traveler.
Yes.
Krager, how about your favorite worst?
Second. The second one is my favorite. The fourth one's the worst.
Okay.
Same.
Des.
30,000 is my favorite. Traveler sucks.
30,000 is my favorite. I actually haven't watched Traveler.
So you don't know yet. So what
Don't
between the
do
other
it.
two? Which one was your least favorite? since you
Between
didn't
the
watch
other
it yet?
two, Comedian is the worst, but because I like Replay. So
Yeah.
it's 30,000 Replay.
What's
Comedian.
cool about Replay is just as much of a slow burn as the Comedian.
Yeah.
But it's way more effective.
Yeah.
There's an urgency to it that makes the slow pace not feel slow. Where the
you have your
Comedian
you
has
have
a slow place, it's slow.
Yeah. You have your protagonist's life on the line.
Exactly.
In Replay.
And it's kind of like the thing in not to
Kind
pull
of on the line in Comedian.
Not as much. He's not
No,
going
not
to
really.
die.
Not
It's
like
like
his
his
actual
career.
life, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But not to pull like a random movie here, but like Source Code or Live, Die, Repeat or Edge of Tomorrow, whatever that movie's called. The
a
whole
good movie.
idea of
Clock Stoppers.
like Clock Stoppers. No, the whole idea of
love that movie.
replaying the same, like Groundhog Day. It was almost like a Twilight episode
Yeah.
Groundhog Day
Yeah, kinda.
scenario. And I love that because I love premises like that because you never know what you're going to get on the next one. Like what's going to make it in, what's not going to make it in,
Yeah.
what's going to change, like what are they going to learn, what's going to go next. You know, so I thought that was really, really cool. Overall, I would give it I think 75% of the episodes we watched were solid B+ to A+, somewhere in that
I
range.
mean, not even Black Mirror's all episodes hit
no,
on every
there's
point.
a lot of episodes in Black
Not
Mirror
even every
where I'm not
original
a huge
Twilight
fan of.
Zone episode hits.
Yeah.
No, especially
No.
actually the majority of Twilight Zones don't hit very
Yeah,
well.
everyone has
I
like
would
their
say.
favorite 5.
Yeah, that's it. And I feel like the majority of them are season 1 that
Yeah.
are really, really good. But yeah, there's not probably. I don't want to keep beating a dead horse or anything because that's just rude. And I mean, let's
Yep.
make some glue. But
Nay, good sir. Nay.
We're just horsing around.
we're just
over
horsing
everybody.
around. Yeah.
Bucko.
Hey Ya is their favorite song. So Guys, was there anything else I missed that like you extrapolated from these episodes that I kind of glossed over real quick? Because we're kind of going through it a little bit fast. I don't want to spend an hour and a half on this. I don't want to spend 50 minutes on an episode that could be 35.
Yeah, so you guys, Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Oh, so
Do aliens cause the Northern Lights? That's what I was like. Are these Northern Lights actually aliens?
Oh, that's interesting.
That's what I took away. That's out of that whole episode was aliens cause the Northern Lights.
We don't get the
Done.
Team Jacob, Team
No,
Edward thing.
It's because I texted Cam earlier in the week because he has the CBS All Access on his Amazon.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, can I get your Amazon information? I really want to watch Twilight because, we need to know it for the podcast. And I also want to know if I'm on Team Jacob or Team Edward.
So you watched? Oh my
Instead of
god!
Twilight
I get it
Zone.
now.
Got it.
Twilight.
It took you that long to get it?
Yeah, it did take me that
Jordan,
long to get it.
no. We need to go drink beer
I
down
know.
the street.
No, we need to go drink some beer. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we need to do. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy this. I'm gonna keep watching the rest of them.
Same.
It'll be nice not to have to take notes
The
while
sixth
watching
one,
them.
the sixth one takes place with an astronaut. I'm excited. I saw the thumbnail.
Is the sixth one? Which one
It's
has
already
the?
out, right?
It's already out, but,
Ike
but there's a thumbnail.
Ike
and I saw it.
Borowicz.
Yeah, sure.
I think they released it yesterday or the day before.
What I think is really cool is
More outer space.
one of the main actors for one of the episodes that hasn't come out yet or it's already out and we haven't seen it, is one of his Mad TV co-stars.
Yeah, Ike Borowicz. That's the guy I'm trying to talk about.
The guy from
Mindy Project.
I've never
He's also
yeah.
from Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
He's also from Jurassic World.
I was
That
thinking
guy.
from he's in the Neighbors movies.
Yep, that's the same guy I'm
Okay,
talking
just to make
about.
sure.
6
Yeah.
Degrees of Freedom.
The Neighbors, and he's in Cock Blockers, I think. Or Blockers,
yeah.
that one. Yeah. So, what were we saying, Joe?
Episode 6 is called 6 Degrees of Freedom.
Oh, interesting. And does that have Ike Borowicz in it? I just know his first name's Ike, and it's a really crazy, weird last name. Bakwanowicz. Bakwakowicz?
No, I think
Bakawakawakowicz. Waka waka waka.
Waka Waka Waka. I'm trying to find out for you.
Waka flocka flame. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Go check.
Bow.
I think we all give it a go check out.
Yeah, we have 2 teachers at the table. What would you give it for a grade?
Well, I would say
Ooh.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my. I'm not gonna run to you and be like, watch this show now. But
Yeah.
Right.
I'd give it a
Do you
B
think?
plus. Yeah.
Does you think it's better than Black Mirror? Or you like Black Mirror more?
I've never watched Black Mirror.
Oh, really?
It's on my
Interesting.
list. I know. It's
Interesting.
on my
Skip
list.
episode 1
I
of the
know.
first season.
Episode
Just
1's
skip
the
it.
worst.
every time I
ever.
tell someone to go watch Black Mirror, like I haven't because some people told me that there was something that happened that everyone hates. I'm like, yes, all you have to
Skip
do is
that episode.
not watch that episode.
That
Everything
episode
else
is
amazing.
horrible. It has nothing to do with
The
rest
one
of it,
thing that's
just
great
skip
about
it.
it is basically everything.
Prager also likes to have sex with pigs.
Did you just spoil Black Mirror for me? The entire plot line?
Yeah.
Dang it!
That's the end.
Actually, what I
Post-credit
just
season.
Don't even need
what
to
I
watch it.
what I just remembered is in the second episode when he's seeing himself in a magazine.
Yeah.
You see the magazine above has Camille Nanjiani on it.
No, that's I pointed
Yeah,
that out.
he did
Samir's
point it
on
out.
I
it.
said that.
Cam, in case you're
yes.
wondering, episode 6, a space crew preparing for the first human flight to Mars is faced with a life-altering decision and all of its consequences.
Do you think that
Matt Damon.
Do you think that advertisement then was the first mission to Mars that we
Yes.
see in Nightmare
Yes.
at 30,000
Yes,
feet?
it's
And
gotta
what
be.
they're saying? That's got to be the link there.
I'm
That
so
has to be it.
excited.
That's
I'm
so
so
cool. I love how
excited.
they link this show up. That's just so good.
Yeah.
It's like a train.
And
Everything's
it's a fun
connected.
little game to play while watching. Like, what little things
Yeah,
are
what
popping
can you
up, What's
find?
related. Yeah.
It's like a circle.
Yeah, everything is there for a purpose, it seems like, that they put in this show. I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the Twilight Zone. We watched it. It was fun. Next week, join us because we're going to be talking about Detective Pikachu.
Oh, I
We-
can't wait
So
for this
excited.
movie.
We are all going to... I think we all have Poke Blue balls right now waiting
I
for
don't.
this thing to come out.
I definitely don't.
I-
I definitely
even,
don't.
Even the
I
ladies
did
do.
have
So you're
a-
Nope, hard don't.
Maybe getting a little misty.
Oh, good Lord. That was beautiful. That was a great joke.
Have you made that joke before?
Nope.
Nope. Now when I watch the Misty Mountains in Lord of the Ring, I'm going to be like,
Those are some misty mountains. That gets me going.
Yeah, just don't get ashed at Mount Doom in Mordor. No, nothing. Never mind.
Dust.
You know,
when you're walking,
you know,
when you're
guys-
walking, you have to go over a lot of rocks.
Guys, I
Yeah.
gotta say, Joe really tried to catch us there, but he just couldn't do it.
Couldn't catch them all.
Nope.
Nah, definitely not.
Mm.
Yep.
Okay, let's go.
Pudding.
Pudding. Pudding.
Prison
Did
wallet.
you have something to finish, Joe?
No.
No? Joe doesn't usually finish. Okay, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Wreck My Podcast.
I finished last.
WreckMyPodcast@gmail.com. We're on all the major podcasting apps, YouTube, all that great stuff. Rate, review, subscribe. Go to our Patreon. We got stuff there. That's cool. Link is in the description. Description? No, link is in the show notes. Is that what it is? Show notes? Yeah. We also have some merchandise for sale, so you can check that out on our website. Thank you to Ben from Petrified Gumbo Music for making our amazing intro song. I may be using it this episode. I may be using the Twilight Zone theme song. We'll see what copyright does.
Just play them together.
Yeah, we'll play them together. It'll be great. Jazz plus jazz equals jazz. Thank you to my guests for being here. I appreciate you doing this. We're going to go drink some beer now, and it's going to be amazing.
Star Wars
and where are we going?
Pocock Brewing Company.
Oh,
Who won't sponsor us?
Actually, we never asked.
Yeah, we haven't asked them yet.
Finally, thank you for listening, because without you, we'd be like a Rod Sterling in the ground that no one hears anymore. Okay, good.
Wow.
Is that too soon?
Too soon? We'd be like a tree in the forest that, I'll just cut that part out, and a tree in the forest.
Bye, I love you, you.
Goodbye. I really appreciate all of you.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been fun.
Yeah, thanks for showing up.
It's been okay.
I like and I love you all.
It's been awesome.
Are you a Geico commercial? Or no, an AT&T commercial?
I felt very heard.
Good.
You heard?
With Purd. Okay, bye, guys.
Wreck My Podcast. Wreck My Podcast.